Regular Town Council meeting of Tuesday, May 14th to order. Madam Clerk, would you do the roll, please?
Peter Talbot.
Here.
Jim Jinks. Here. Dina Allard.
Here.
Tricia Kramer. Here. Fiona Pearson. Here. Don Walsh. Here. Greg Wolf. Here. David Velleber. Here. And John Milone. Here. Everyone's present.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So it's nice to see a large contingent from the police department here. That can only mean one thing, that the Chief Drive is going to give us another life-saving award, which is always the best way to start off a meeting. So, Chief Drive, if you would, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are thrilled, as is he, to be joined by Mr. Greg Mancuso here, who is the subject of this particular life save. So he was kind enough, gracious enough to join us tonight and gave me permission to introduce him. You know, when I write these things up, usually I'm very generic about it. It's usually been a very private matter. So Mr. Mancuso is here. So, and so is Officer Wells, right here. So this incident took place earlier this year. On February 26, 2024, at approximately 6 a.m., Cheshire Police Officer Alex Wells was dispatched to a residence on Cook Hill Road on the report that a 62-year-old male was experiencing chest pains. While the caller was speaking with the dispatcher, she relayed that her husband had collapsed and was not breathing. Officer Wells arrived and confirmed that the male patient was unconscious and was not breathing. He immediately began life-saving measures, including CPR. Officer Wells performed CPR for approximately 1 minute 45 seconds while simultaneously working with the patient's wife to prepare the AED for use. After Officer Wells' CPR, the patient began to breathe and was somewhat responsive. Emergency medical personnel arrived on scene and took over care of the patient. The patient was transported to St. Mary's Hospital for care. It was learned that he had 2 blocked arteries which required the placement of stents. The patient's wife wrote that she believes the care provided by Officer Wells and the EMS team saved her husband's life and that his recovery is, quote, a true miracle, end quote. Officer Wells, your actions are a credit to you as a law enforcement officer and to the Cheshire Police Department. You are hereby awarded the Cheshire Police Department's Life-Saving Award on this, the 14th day of May, 2024. I believe that ends my business with the council tonight, Mr. Chairman.
You're not going to stay with us for a while, Chief? You sure there's nothing that we can squeeze you into on the agenda tonight?
I'll review it on the way downstairs.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Officer Wells, thank you. Thank you to the other members of the department as well for showing up for their colleague. And Mr. Mancuso, so glad you are here tonight. With that, we will move on to a presentation by the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments on the Naugatuck Valley Active Transportation Plan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tayo, T-A-Y-O, Tayo Laleye. I'm a transportation planner at the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments. As we all know, the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments is a regional framework of municipalities that collaborate together on such issues as transportation, environment, and community development. I'm here this evening to present to you our active transportation plan. Active transportation involves alternative means of getting from one place to another, basically by walking, by biking, or by rolling. We have been preparing, or we are presently preparing, an active transportation plan for the region. My message this evening, I was asked to specifically thank the town of Cheshire for their efforts in making the town very walkable, or, easily accessible by either biking or rolling or walking. If there's one example that I can point to as an individual, I presently work on our active transportation micro grant, which the state of Connecticut has put in place to provide helmets, bicycles, to encourage people to walk and to bike. Of all the municipalities in our region, of the 19, I can confidently say for the last quarter, when the program just started, the very first application we got was from the town of Cheshire, and it came from Bike Cheshire. James submitted his application, and that was the very first one we received. So it was, after they got the information, they were very proactive, and so we do appreciate the efforts that this town puts into making the town very easy for people to walk and to bike. I was here yesterday in front of the high school. I was doing what we call pedestrian counts. And I had an opportunity over 2 hours to see people walking, the students crossing the road and going to play. Maybe they were playing tennis or something like that. But I did notice that there are facilities, sidewalks, and things to make people walk. And I want to commend your efforts and do encourage you to continue in that light. For our active transportation plan, it's basically a plan to make accessibility easy for those who maybe don't have a car or choose not to drive. We believe that mobility and accessibility are rights. It's not a privilege, it's a right. And we believe in our office that everybody should have access. Nobody should be denied the opportunity to have accessibility and mobility options. For this plan of ours that we're preparing, it is basically revolving around the Naugatuck Greenway, which runs through the spine of the entire region. But we're also looking at an avenue whereby surrounding municipalities could have maybe trails or other things that connect to this spoke, so that people from one municipality can come and connect the Greenway or walk or whatever they choose to do. We are envisaging that at the end of this, it will not only tell us what is on ground, but what you would like to see in it. And that's why I'm here this evening. We have prepared a survey that I will share flyers with your kind permission. It has a QR code, and we want to get your thoughts, because there's no plan that it's as good as the input of the people into that plan. That's what makes it a living document. So we've prepared a survey which we want people who either live here, work here, or visitors to this town to let us know their thoughts and their ideas on what they would like to see in the town of Cheshire. We do believe that at the end of this all, we will come up with a list of projects which we look forward to being able to finance over the course of the next few years. I wish to state that there is a lot of funds out, much more than we've ever seen in a long time, and the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments is committed to ensuring that we get as much funds to fund these projects for our municipalities as much as possible. with your kind permission, sir, I would like to take comments or questions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I'm sure my colleagues have questions, so, anyone as we come around? I certainly have a bunch, so go ahead, John.
So I'm a little confused. You're introducing us to, sounds like a bike pedestrian plan that you're developing. Are you developing it? Are you going out to RFP to have it developed? What's the process gonna be? I understand that you're interested in doing it, but I don't understand where we're going from here.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we're developing the plan. We're doing it in-house. We're doing it in-house. We're taking input from our towns on what they want to see in the plan. We are presently, we have a project advisory committee. I know there are members from here on the committee. So we have presently gotten to where we've written an existing conditions report on what is on ground in all the 19 towns. We are going around to the various towns to find what they want as input into the plan. So the plan is at the end of it, we will have a list of projects that we intend then to seek financing for over a period of time. But we're writing the plan ourselves.
And so you said something about a QR code where we can respond or something.
Yes, sir.
Where you're gonna hand out something tonight?
Yes, it's in this
And we
flyer.
would just respond, but we're not gonna, it's just blindly, these are things that are important to us individually, like this intersection or this route from here to here.
Yes, sir.
Just whatever we think of.
Yes, sir.
Very isolated, not in the context of what we want for the whole town, but what's isolated and is important to us that we've seen.
Yes, sir.
You're suggesting,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
And then when, are you working with the, I see Mike's here, are you working with the planning commission to present this, or who's your primary agency you're working with in the town as you go through this?
We have not this is our first presentation to the town of Cheshire.
So will you be coming back to the council with presentations on this, or we'll go through the planning and zoning?
If we are invited, we'll be pleased to come.
Okay. Yeah, we'd love to see it, and I don't want to overstep the, Mike's, commission's responsibilities, but I'd love to see it as it evolves, because, it's a great town, and there's a lot of opportunities, as you know, the Rails Trails goes right through the middle, and we've talked to Jim about this before, there's a whole bunch of challenges. There's roads that can support alternative transportation, there's roads that are gonna have a hard time doing it. I have a hard time getting my bike over to the trail without being nervous, but I make it, hopefully no one hits me, but it's not an easy route.
not the best.
But other places are a little easier.
Okay.
So it's wonderful that you're doing this. We're very appreciative, but
Thank you, sir.
to the extent we can stay connected and before it gets adopted or finalized in some way, that would be wonderful.
I look forward to further communication on this.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. And I did like that you will be securing the financing for that. That's really appreciative of us. I'm assuming, though, it's not going to be all the financing. You're going to give us a plan of what you feel would be the best, and we work together with you.
Definitely, definitely.
Because, some of these plans could be very costly, and, we have so much we're giving to sidewalks, and, but I do agree with John and Jim about, we do need better bike paths for, a lot of people complain about the bikes on the linear trail because it's not wide enough, and for people walking, and where else are they gonna go? I mean, if they can't get on the street because the streets aren't helping, then we have to find a way to do it. So I appreciate you guys looking into this, and I appreciate even more the financing that you will get for us on that. So thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes, again, thank you. So it says here that you've already released this online survey, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes,
And
ma'am.
so,
Yes.
have you already worked with groups in town regarding this survey, or do we already have organizations, or is the town, so we don't have anyone actively sharing the survey yet with the community? So that's what we need to do next is
Not
to-
yet. I think this is the first kind of public presentation.
Yes, it
And
is.
then anything that the council would like, us to do. And then subsequent to that, I know there was an email that Arnett sent out, kind of in parallel, and one of the goals that we talked about during the goal-setting objectives back in January, one of the goals we established was sort of a local version of this, a multimodal effort that still needs to be fleshed out a little bit, and I think we're going to be starting with a meeting coming up to kind of, I think, first hearing from this and sort of in parallel, though, what Cheshire's going to do locally and where can there be some sort of synergies between the two similar
So this is
efforts.
analogous to the survey, the AARP survey, for example, that was done by
There's
Human
elements
Services.
of it, certainly, yeah,
and so
connectivity and
reaching out to
accessibility.
people who are eligible.
Right, but this is available to everybody right now, and so it's really more about publicizing it even further so that it
Right.
can help inform, what, if anything, we take as next steps, and it'll probably tie into the capital budget discussions we have in just a few weeks too. So,
Okay. And in terms of, do you have an end point at this point in terms of when you're looking to close the survey, or is that yet to be determined?
It is yet to be determined. It's still open.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Jinks.
Thank you for being here tonight. In terms of local, encouraging people to ride bikes locally and use active transportation locally, on our local roads, for the most part, that's probably, we're talking about some traffic calming and signage and marking and stuff. The hurdle is the state roads, as you well know. I think most of us well know. It doesn't matter how kind of how much people feel safe to ride in local roads, that if they can't actually access the state roads safely, then this network we're trying to build is not really a network. So you're not really going to go anywhere. You're not going to get more people out there riding. It's not really going to be an active transportation network. So how much? And this, maybe you can't answer this at this point, but is the state on board with this regional active transportation plan that the COG is trying to further? What's their level of involvement in this?
They are aware. They support it, but we're just in the beginning stages, so we can't say how things will end up. But they're aware that we are preparing an active transportation plan. So I really can't gauge what is happening out in Newington.
Right. I mean, obviously, once we have a plan and we have something presented to the state and
To
say,
the
this
state.
is what we want to have happen, this is why, then I could foresee them, being obviously more engaged at that point. But, and there's a lot of federal funds coming into the state DOT as well. So,
True.
and there's never been, as you said, there's never been this much money for these kinds of things before. So, we can be optimistic about their wanting to help us make this happen here in Cheshire, I think, and the region. But it is still kind of a big open question at this point.
I would like to say that the current commissioner of the Department of Transportation is a very, very positive view on bikes and pedestrian access. So I think that's a good thing for this following through, more effectively than maybe in the past, so.
Ms. Allard.
Teo, thank you so much for being here. I just have a question about the scope of like the vision. Does it include, when we talk about increasing access for walking and rolling and biking, typically I think of like the linear trail for recreation purposes, but does this include increasing access to grocery stores, shopping, doctors' offices, and is that something that is in scope for this, and does that survey address that potential need?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It is just increasing access and mobility from every point.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Wolf?
Thank you. I really appreciate all of your efforts doing this. Something that's critical to our town as we grow, how we get people around safely. It's something that we really have to put a lot of thought into, and I commend your efforts. My question is, you had mentioned that the NVCOG has already started to look at some aspects of what this could entail. Is there a way for us on the council to see what you guys have already started, the legwork that you guys have started, or tell me to where you guys are at so far? Is it just you're getting all of your information fresh from the survey, or do you have a bunch of studies that you guys have already put together that you're kind of seeding everything else from?
Okay.
And can we, as a group, see that at some point to kind of?
Presently, there's, as I said earlier, there's an existing conditions report that we've put together. I'm trying to remember if specifically, I think it's on our website. I can't confirm that, but I know there's an existing conditions report that we've done so far to take a look at where we are presently, and we're taking it from there. Because
Can you just kind of briefly, what does that entail? Like, what is an existing conditions report?
the existing conditions report, it gives a status of how the status of active transportation in the 19 municipalities. It takes a look at crash data. How many pedestrian accidents have we had? How many was serious, fatal, in that category? How many bicyclists were involved in, It also looks at how many people get to work by walking or biking, the modes of which people move around. Those are some of the things that are in that part of the report. You're welcome, sir.
Ms.
I will be
Kramer?
willing to confirm whether it's on, we've hoisted it on the website or not.
That'd be great.
But I know it's ready because I wrote sections of it, and so,
Hi, thanks for
Yeah.
coming
thank you, ma'am.
and allowing us to understand that this is something that NBCOG is going to be looking at, because I know everyone here is always, as we grow, we're always looking to make our streets safer. And I know that the transportation in town is important. I know pedestrian transportation at any age gives people independence. And I'm speaking as a mom. I have two sons, one who was an avid biker, and getting to the trail was dangerous. Getting back from the trail was dangerous, and now I have a son who works out after school and walks home from the gym. Half of his walk is perfectly fine, and the other half I lose sleep over at night, but he refuses not to do it. That's his independence. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of streets and what kind of sidewalk work this will entail. And I'll look it up, and I look forward to working with you guys to bring safety to a couple of intersections, especially along Route 10.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Teo, where is the money coming from for this project? Is it state or federal, or a combination?
For the plan?
For not only the plan, but for the projects that the plan will, lead to, hopefully.
We're looking at a number of sources. There's rec trails grants. There are funds for sidewalk improvements, depending on what we determine, what projects we want to finance. We'll look at what exactly fits it. Basically, the funds available in the BIL law and things like that. So depending on when we have these projects, then we can know this fits here, this qualifies for this. Will we have a matching grant for this or that? So we're looking at various sources based on what's out there.
Does this include busing on any level?
No, sir.
Okay.
Not at this point.
Does it involve businesses other than making workplaces accessible? Or is it primarily for residents?
You're talking of having access to business offices? Yes.
Okay. And it incorporates, the plan will incorporate recreation as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other than the survey, how can we help you?
We want feedback. Besides the survey, we encourage participation. We encourage feedback. People should shoot us an email, ideas, besides the survey. But the survey may not capture everything because, a survey is questions, but we are also open to ideas. Where was I? 2 weeks ago, I was in Shelton. I went to Shelton, someone went to Oxford. And what they concluded there was that, okay, they will come with their own list. Besides answering the survey, they will look at actually listing projects. They were already telling me, oh, from here to that part by the lake, they want to connect downtown, you know, and they decided to come up with a list and send to our office, which we will be very happy to have.
Excellent. Well, on behalf of the council, I'd like to extend to you an open invitation to come back as soon as the survey is done, and we'd love to have you back to hear the results of that.
Okay, sir.
And then continue to partner with the Naugatuck Valley COG to see the projects to their completion, so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your presentation, much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
We are still in public communications, so if there is any member of the public that would like to speak this evening on behalf of any of the agenda items or anything not on the agenda but would like to address the council, now is your time to do so. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of minutes, the minutes of April 15th, 2024, the Town Council special meeting of April 16th, the Town Council special meeting of April 24th, the Town Council special meeting of April 29th, and I think that is the minutes that we are doing tonight. So I will entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Veliber, and thank you, Mr. Jinks. All those in favor?
There was one
Yes,
of those
I'm sorry,
meetings was
Mr.
not
Walsh.
recorded, though, correct? Is that one of the meetings that was not recorded, just so people know if they're going back to look at it?
We will have minutes of all the meetings, but one of those, the one that started here and moved to 207, we don't have video of.
If anybody's looking for that, you just have to read the minutes then, so.
That was the one on the same night as the BOE.
The 24th.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the 24th, probably.
Thank you for the clarification. Now we'll, let's redo the vote real quick. I'm pretty sure it was unanimous, but, and it is unanimous, so thank you. Which brings us to item number 5, the consent calendar. Mr. Jinks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be resolved that the Town Council approves resolution number 0511424-1. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the consent calendar for May 14, 2024 as follows, except for item E, which the correction is instead of $700 donations, a $750 donation from Cheshire Men's Softball.
Thank you, Mr. Jinks. We have a motion and a second from Mr. Veliber. Thank you. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
If I could just very briefly, Mr. Chair, only because
Sure.
it came out of Budget Committee, there was a question on the NEF funds in terms of the available balance during Budget Committee. Our esteemed Finance Director, Jim Jascott, confirmed the number over the last 20 minutes. So currently available is now after this appropriation is $38,663. Over the life of the fund, we've received a little over $48,000. $5,000 has been spent. $5,033 has been spent, and there's $4,680 encumbered. So an available balance of $39,000. So just answering a question that came out of the Budget Committee just before this meeting.
I just had a question on the two. So was the 10,500, was that the largest amount we've gotten so far? All right.
That
so-
is correct.
And that's for 6 months, so.
Correct.
And my math is correct, I think, is around 210,000 nip bottles being sold in this town in 6 months. So if you're buying them, please dispose of them properly instead of throwing them on the ground. But I just thought, that's a large number, so.
And it's increasing.
Yes. Thank you. We have no items removed from the consent calendar, so we'll go to old business, and we'll start with Mr. Kimball and an update on the Bartlam Park South project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be brief, although this is page 2 of my town manager's report also, which does include 4 recent photos, including the first three are from today. The irrigation, grading, and hydroseeding of the Town Green Picnic Grove area closest to Route 10, which I'm sure you've all seen as you've driven by, has been completed. The seed is starting to come through and germinate, so it's starting to turn greener by every day. So it's really looking wonderful, and I think was a terrific addition to the project that we approved back last year. So it's looking really great. Additional testing on the 600 cubic yard pile of the unsuitable topsoil has now been determined that we may have the opportunity to transport it to our closed landfill site over by DPW, which would be a very significant cost savings to that situation we've been navigating over the last 2 months. So that option is currently pending confirmation of approval from DEEP, so more to come on that hopefully very soon. Precast bathroom building is nearing completion off-site. The delivery and installation is tentatively scheduled for June. And then lastly, and probably the next opportunity to have a meeting together, I know we talked at the last, to have a kind of a regrouping of the staff working group, but also with the 3 council members to evaluate the engineering plans for the band shell are still coming back from Polygon. They are anticipated to arrive. They told us May 15th, which is tomorrow. If they come, we want to be able to review. There's some slight modifications to the design, and that was the source of a lot of our discussion and design back a year and a half ago when we were first planning the band shell. So we want to make sure that any design changes that they're proposing are acceptable. So just be on the lookout for a possible meeting when and if we receive those plans, hopefully soon. So other than that, the project's going very well. And again, you'll see a few photos in there of the recent work, and everything else is on track.
Ms. Kramer?
I've been paying attention to the project, but came in relatively towards the end. Is there any plans for any bleachers in the Bartlam Park South project?
So there's a pad that was a part of the original design over closer to the bathroom building, a concrete pad that was expressly put to accommodate one kind of small section of bleachers. But early on, we identified, if we still have remaining funds in the overall project, that the more traditional kind of 4-riser, more portable bleachers could be placed along, as you're coming in the access drive, the northern part of the turf field. It was sort of designed in such a way that it would provide good visibility onto the field. You can't put, and you really shouldn't put, bleachers directly onto the turf field, or you'll damage the product. So it's kind of finding the best strategic area around the side of it. And that's why, especially when they're running east-west, as they did today, we lined it east-west, so you have the 2 full cross fields right now. The best viewing is going to be from either the south or the north, and that's where folks are either going to bring their chairs and sit along the sidewalk as kind of initially intended, or again on that northern side where the grass is, we're hoping to purchase a number of bleachers so folks can view from there, from kind of a low-rise 4-tier bleacher. So that's the plan. If this topsoil news remains good news, then we may well have some money left over. If it doesn't, then we may have to revisit that.
Thank you.
Mr. Walsh?
Is there a date that you expect the majority of it, maybe not the band shell, to be completed by, and where people can start using the walk and things?
Sure. So yeah, that is definitely an open question. I mean, the target was September from the original plan. The band shell is the linchpin of the whole thing right now. And unfortunately, as we kind of experienced when thanks to Attorney D'Onofrio and our insurance company and many others pulling together from town staff, even turning over a portion of the project for the turf field is not easy. And of course, the rest of the project is squarely in the middle of a construction zone. But ultimately, if not for the band shell, they're certainly on track for everything else, even cautiously optimistic. Eversource is also a potential hang-up in terms of when they officially confirm the transformer that will be delivered to the site, which will be hosted at the bathroom area. But they also have confirmed they have 11 of them ready to go for us. It's kind of a unique transformer, but there's one ready for us. So that shouldn't be a delay that you often will hear on construction projects. Things can look really great until you get to the electrical outfitting and whatnot. So everything else is on track for September. But again, I think the band shell, all signs are pointing to, if they're not giving us initial engineered plans till now, it's going to be another 6 to 7 weeks before you have final design plans, and then fabrication is probably another couple, 2 to 3 months. You're already into September or into the fall. So, and it's not just plopping a band shell, it's footings and it's a concrete pad. So I think that's certainly the area that we're watching the closest. It was really the linchpin for whether the whole project, when it gets turned over to the town.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball, and we'll move right in from one major project to our largest project, the school building committee update. Mr. Gussenberg, welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. This is going to be a fairly short presentation. We don't have as much going on this month. We continue to be on schedule in terms of our design work. Construction design continues and is slated to be finished over the summer, with us going out to bid in the fall and breaking ground at the Norton site in December, probably mid to late December, and in the North End site, mid to late December, and Norton site in early January. We have all of our materials up to the state for phase 1, and we are waiting breathlessly for state approvals, and that's just holding us up at the moment, but we're ready to go out to bid on all of the phase 1 work, which will begin this summer as we've presented to you in the past. So it's just a matter of waiting until we receive those letters from the state. On April 30th, we had a community meeting, which was very well attended, had about 50 people, and I would say that they were about 50% from the North End and 50% from Norton area. Very good group of people, lots of good questions. Nitty-gritty kinds of things at this point. It's, people wondering things like where the tree line would be around Norton School and how it might impact their property, and, the trucks in and out of the areas and that sort of thing, which was good. But we were pleased. We had sent out, I think at one point, Dr. Solon said 3,000 letters. We got what we thought was a fairly good turnout. So that was a good, positive meeting, and we were able to give people, I think, all the answers that they were looking for. Received a couple of things this past month on energy. We received letters on each of the 2 schools from Eversource, congratulating us on the design that we've come up with and how energy efficient it is, and letting us know that we are part of their reimbursement project. And what that means is when the building is done, they will come in, they will assess the functioning of the systems, and assuming that it meets the specs that we've given them, the town will then see some reimbursement money coming our way. We estimate it would be about $500,000 per building, about $1 million coming back to the town. We also had been talking to the engineers. As you'll know, the original budget and the original specs did not call for PV photovoltaic solar panels to be purchased out of this project, but they did call for having the roof area to be set up for those. And we've been wondering, and it took up to this point because we had to have the design further around, how many panels we could fit and how effective they would be. I was extremely pleasantly surprised. The engineers came back saying that they had room on Norton School for 1,159 panels, which would offset 100% of electrical needs and making Norton School a net zero building. The North End School, not exactly as much. There we had room for 1,063 panels of the 1,343 that would be needed if we were to make it net zero. That would provide 79% of the energy needs, and we would have the option down the line of providing another 280 panels on the ground somehow to bring it also to net zero. So our system is extremely efficient, and with the addition of solar panels, we could see 2 net zero buildings. And that's all I have at this point. Glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Jenks?
Just, first of all, thank you again, as always, to you and your group, the committee. I mean, this isn't your responsibility to do, but as far as the energy stuff that you're pursuing, are you letting the Energy Commission kind of know what's happening in this front? And I mean, this is good news that you presented here tonight. Have they been told that this is the result of?
This just came through within a few days ago.
Okay.
It was reported out on Thursday. So no, I haven't reported this to anybody else at this point.
Okay.
Bringing it to you first.
Sure, okay. I know they were, I mean, obviously their hope was that we would have net zero schools and, you know, be as energy efficient
I
as
think they
possible,
will
so.
be very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
Yes.
great. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Velaber?
Just a quick question. Thank you very much for all the work that you're doing, and this is great information you have too. Question for you, assuming everything goes as planned, was the $1 million or the 500 per building, was that already contemplated in the budget, or is this new information that may come off the, you know, that may bring back some money?
No,
on
this will have no impact for us in terms of planning. We're working with the $166 million that was approved. This money will come after the project is finished.
Right.
Because they can't come in until the building is completely done and do their evaluation. So it'll come back to the town as $1 million for the town to do as they would like to do.
Right, I guess my question is, was this contemplated, or is this new good news that we hadn't already anticipated?
Well, we've known since early on
Right.
that this was a possibility, and it was built into the contract that we have with Tecton to do the background work with Eversource. So it didn't even cost us anything in terms of the design work that Kohler Ronan, the engineers, did with Eversource as part of the process. So right from the beginning, we knew we would go this route. We knew this was available. There's another grant, which I think I've told you about, in the Inflation Reduction Act, that we didn't know about when we started. And it took us a lot of footwork to try to ascertain, you know, the process and the potential there. We had a meeting a couple of months ago, I guess now, with the members of the committee, Mr. D'Onofrio, Pete, and others. The town is moving ahead with that. There's a potential there to see as much as $3 million, according to the firm that we were working with that would do a lot of the legwork. Again, that would come back to the town from this federal Inflation Reduction Act. But that's still ongoing and still very, you know, unclear exactly how much we would get or when. But we're pursuing that also.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I just have, just for clarification, you talked about the solar panel potential, but you said it wasn't in the original budget, but there's the potential for doing it, which would get us to, at least in one school, to a net zero situation. Are we doing solar panels, or are we just setting up to potentially do them and purchase them in the future? I don't understand where you left it.
The project calls for the building to be prepared and ready for the solar panels. It does not call for the purchase or installation of solar panels.
So it's not in the budget right now?
It's not in the budget right now. There's a potential when bids come out and we have extra money, that we could move in that direction. There's a potential that after we finish the project, the town may choose to invest in it, or there are other ways of getting solar panels where you don't put any money up front, but you know, you work out an agreement. So all of those are possible. But what the ed specs called for was to make sure that we had all of the electrical hookups and that the roof itself was prepared for the panels. But it doesn't include in the budget the money to purchase and install panels.
Thank you.
Ms. Kramer?
Hi. We see you every month. I enjoy it. This
Tell
is,
my wife that.
this is an abstract question, and if I'm not asking it properly, let me know, and I'll try to rephrase it. It has to do with the exponential growth of enrollment in Cheshire and how fast we're growing. The schools that are currently being built and the ones that we have, we're planning for in the future. I know schools like Highland and Norton, they have trailers for when we outgrow the schools, but we haven't yet gotten to a population increase where we need to build bigger schools. The current construction of these schools, do they have an availability of like a portion of the property or construction that can easily handle like a concrete expansion for building?
Each building, and I don't know which plans I'd have to go back to look at, but each building had the potential for an additional 4 classroom addition. And it's shown as a lower floor and upper floor coming off each of the wings. And that was
The main
designed
buildings.
with- Yeah, that was
That's
designed
fantastic.
within
Thank
it.
you.
Yep. So you could add four classrooms at each building for relatively little cost, because there'd be no, major infrastructure change or anything like that.
Just piggybacking right off the main structure.
Right.
So it's like a trailer, but it's a permanent
Like
add-on.
a trailer, but permanent, yes.
Fantastic.
Our portables seem to be somewhat permanent too, but,
Mr. Gussenberg, keep the good news coming.
all right, we'll try.
I understand we will not see you in June for good cause, but you're leaving us in good hands, and we look forward to seeing you back in July.
Okay, I'm heading off to Thailand next week. We have a wedding in Thailand, so
Enjoy.
long flight, but I'm excited by it. So,
Yes.
I will see you in July. And by then, I'm hoping we're going to see some activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to new business. Item A is the approval of transfer of uncollectible property taxes to the suspense list. Mr. Jenks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved, the Town Council approves Resolution Number 051424-2. Be resolved, the Town Council approves the transfer of uncollectible taxes as presented and attached to the suspense tax book. So,
Thank you, Mr. Velbert. Mr. Jenks.
So we just discussed this in budget. I would love for our tax collector to come up and give us a little brief overview of what this is. She's come up with the explanation here of her criteria for the suspense list, and would love for her to explain that to us all. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So I provided to the council my criteria for taking accounts that I feel are uncollectible and putting them into a suspense. It does not stop me from being able to collect on them for 15 years from their due date. However, it removes them as a receivable for the town and therefore better represents what is actually outstanding to the town. So my criteria is basically you're either going to be deceased or you're going to be out of business. And then maybe you'll get on the suspense list. Only maybe.
Questions from colleagues? Seeing none, thank you very much for the explanation in the memo, and I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Brings us to item B, the assignment of tax liens. Ms. Pearson.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 051424-3. Be it resolved that the Town Council, pursuant to Sections 195H, 7254, and 7258 of the Connecticut General Statutes, authorizes the tax collector to assign for consideration such tax and sewer liens as deemed appropriate for assignment by the tax collector. And Be it further resolved, the consideration for such assignments be negotiated between the town, acting through its tax collector and the assignees, and be it further resolved that the town council awards the assignments as presented to Tower Capital Management at the bid amount of 105.91%.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Jenks, thank you. And for purposes of discussion, since you're already seated and microphoned, floor is yours.
Tax lien assignment has been a practice of the town of Cheshire, I believe, going back to about 2014 or maybe even further back. Yeah. It helps us to get the needed revenue in to the town. It also works well for the taxpayers because the lien assignment companies are able to work with them, with the delinquent taxpayers, on payment plans where the town needs the money for the budget. And I am very happy to say that the trend that I am seeing with the lien assignments is people are able to pay them off usually within a year or two. Only very rarely, I think out of the properties that I've looked at, there have maybe been 1 or 2 foreclosures, but that is basically abandoned properties or somebody who has deceased. Other than that, I've heard good things on this. I will personally talk to any of the taxpayers that call and are nervous about the fact that their liens are being assigned and explain to them that it gives them more flexibility and more time to pay. And I've had good responses. Tower Capital Management, I have reached out to 5 different towns in Connecticut that have been working with Tower Capital. I've received nothing but rave reviews. They have online access where I can see if an account has been paid off or not so that the taxpayer can pay their current bills to me. So I was happy to see them come in at a premium. We don't always get that, so a few extra $1,000 in the revenue column makes me happy.
Makes us happy, too. Questions, Mr. Velaber?
Yes, thank you very much for this. I think this is a very important service for the town because it does help us collect that money sooner. But I was going to ask you that question. I mean, it appears we had a fairly substantial premium on this, on this buyout. So I was going to ask if you remember if we had a premium last year and what that number was. But I think this is higher than that. We were 103 last year or something?
We were 103 last year. Tower Management was the other company that bid with us last year on the RFP, and they had proposed a higher premium than the 103. I think they were maybe points above 103. I was more comfortable being a new collector in Cheshire of going with a company that I had already established a relationship with. That company did not bid this year. The other company that bid was just slightly lower this year than Tower Capital. They do not have a glowing reputation.
Okay. So that's good.
More money and a better reputation. I'm good with that.
Absolutely, and this is a very good, very good premium in that. So I appreciate all the hard work you did on this, and this is, for the town, this is a great because we get that money, and then they can deal. We don't have to wait for that money to come in.
Right, and I do want to say the numbers that you have in front of you have changed a little bit downward because people have come in and paid with cash or certified funds to avoid having their liens assigned to a third party.
Sorry. Anyone else? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, good night.
Brings us to item C, the approval of street tree planting program agreement, not aggrievement. Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 051424-4. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the street tree agreement with the property owners located at 922, 1175, 1120 South Main Street as presented, and be it further resolved that the Town Council authorizes Town Manager Sean M. Kimball to execute said agreements pursuant to the terms and conditions as presented, and the approval by the Town Attorney as to form and function.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Thank you, Ms. Allard. Mr. Martelli, welcome.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. Just like to mention Susan Dillman, who is a 10-year member of the Town Beautification Committee, who joins us here this evening, who worked diligently on this with the subcommittee for street trees. If you remember back, there was some money that was allocated towards a specific project. This is the project that Town Beautification is looking to do this year, which is the introduction of some street trees down on South Main Street. Over the course of several months, various different documents, including guidance from the University of Connecticut, were sought for right tree, right place guidance. And so in your packet, there's a list of small, medium, and large trees. Over the course of several weeks, we met with various property owners trying to secure locations along South Main Street which would be best suitable for planting of the trees. The addresses in your packet here, 922, 1175, and 1120 are the first three properties. So just roughly you have Cheshire Wine and Spirits, which is right next to the Starbucks location, the small office building just south of Cheshire Welcome Inn, and then at the corner of King Road, there's an office building there with the parking lot. Those are the three properties that we're going to be starting with. So once we move forward, we have different trees that are going to be planted in different locations, and there's going to be an agreement which will be stipulated, which is in your packet, which we worked with Town Attorney Jeff D'Onofrio to formulate, which will then be executed between the town and Sean. Contractor, basically just walking you through what the project is. Contractor will go out, plant the tree, provide water bags, and then weekly make sure that the water bag is filled. They'll mulch the tree, and then for a period of 1 year, we'll maintain it, and then the ownership of the tree will turn over to the property owner. This is our first go at this, and then we've followed a couple different examples from other municipalities in the state, and then we hope to continue going forward with it. So with that, if any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions from colleagues? Mr. Walsh.
First of all, as the liaison to the Town Beautification Committee, I want to compliment Ms. Dillman and the rest of the committee who work really hard on this. I mean, they really care about how this town looks, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. So I want to compliment them on that. There's, as you start driving around town and you start seeing little plots of land looking nicer and nicer, it's because of their hard work. And I will admit that I am a brown thumb. I don't know anything about plants, but I'm learning, and it's actually pretty interesting to see, and from what I understand, there will be no Bradford pears being planted in this town anymore.
I'll lose my job. So.
But I just wanted to say thank you to you and your committee. You work really hard. I enjoy going to the meetings, and it's a learning experience for me, and I could see how much they care about how beautiful this town looks, and I, for one, appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Jinks.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Don said. I was, as the previous liaison for the
You could come back.
Beautification Committee. I appreciate those early meetings, by the way. A morning meeting is very unusual for what we do, so that was nice. But yeah, it was always a great experience working with you guys, and I appreciate that. I think you guys started talking about this a couple of years ago, so it's been in the works for quite a while. Nice to see it come to fruition, and looking forward to the improvements down the south end.
And with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Oh, Mr. Velover?
Just had a quick question.
Sure.
With the funds that you have, and I apologize for, and obviously you start, how many trees can, what is that how many trees can your budget represent in the
That's
course
a
of
good
a year?
question. So now that we have, after tonight, now we're going to be getting pricing for the actual planting of the trees. We already have gone out to the nursery and identified where the trees are going to be coming from, and which trees are going to go where, but we don't know that yet. So we're going to do as many as we can do this year, and then look to continue the program for next year.
Thank you. Thank you.
No,
And I just have to quickly say, if you saw us yesterday, Town Beautification was out. We planted about 75 red geraniums at the parklet at the corner of Maple Avenue and then Main Street here. Public Works was out edging today. They'll be mulching either the end of this week or next week. And then tomorrow, weather permitting, we're planting about 40 more red geraniums at the corner of Cook Hill Road and some other sun patients, depending on what these guys select to be planted out there. So it'll really look pretty sharp. So.
excellent. And with that, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Andrew, thank you, and Ms. Dillman, thank you very much, and please pass along the thanks of the council to the Beautification Committee for all of their efforts, not just the recent planting, but everything in general for making Cheshire look nice.
We appreciate your support, too. It means a lot to have the funds to be able to do the things that we really want to do, so thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to item D, the approval of agreement with InfoQuick Solutions for records management system and services for the town clerk's office. And Ms. Kramer, please.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 051-424-5. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the 5-year agreement for records management system and services with InfoQuick Solutions, IQS, pursuant to the terms and conditions as presented, and be it further resolved that the Town Council authorizes Town Manager Sean Kimball to execute said agreement upon the approval by the Town Attorney as to form and function.
We have a motion. Thank you, Ms. Kramer. Thank you, Mr. Veliber. Ms. Dickinson, would you like to come up to the podium? And I have to take the opportunity to congratulate you publicly. I know I did it via email, but Ms. Dickinson is a certified.
You to switch my name, Peter.
I'm sorry, Ms. King.
What you're saying.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
A certified municipal clerk, and we are extremely proud of your efforts, Ms. King. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter, and your email was lovely. I appreciate that. Okay. So just to give you a very brief overview, IQS is our land record company. They offer our land records online. They offer the care and storage of our microfilm that backs up our land records. They allow for public access with the ability to print from home land records. The town, they charge $2 a page. Town gets $1 of that. Trade names are online with public access. Land records are accessible to other town hall departments at no extra charge. So the tax office, the assessor's office, building and public works all utilize that, as well as I believe the town manager's office. We currently have an electronic system for the birth records and the death records. We don't have that yet for the marriage records. It is coming. But in the meantime, while we're awaiting the state's release of that program, we can do that through IQS. We can scan and store and print marriage certificates through the system. The dog program is within our land record system as well. At no charge, they offer online fraud alert for our residents. People can put in 3 different versions of their name into the system, and they will get notified by email if any land record goes on to their name, whether fraudulent or not. In Connecticut, is my understanding, we have not had an issue with this kind of fraud, but we're prepared to protect our residents in the meantime. This company, IQS, offers outstanding customer service, both IT and any other thing that we call them about. They are there, they get back to us promptly. We have a wonderful working relationship. One of the big changes for the new 5-year contract, we're coming off of a 5-year contract, going into a new 5-year contract. One of the biggest changes is they will no longer be supplying our books and paper. This is what our land records currently look like on the shelf. These books were great when people were making copies on a copy machine because they open right up flat and folks could copy them. Now with our records being online, folks can print from home, they can come into our office and print from our office. And because we no longer have as much wear and tear on the books, we are going to be moving to, this is a vital record book, so it's not the size and shape, but it's this type of book that we'll be moving to. Our old books hold 330 pages. Our new books are going to hold 1,200 pages. It's going to be archival compliant paper. It's a cotton paper. You can take the pages out to copy if you wish. It's easy access, but we don't expect the wear and tear that the old books had. Also happy to be using less plastic with the new. So I 100% adore this company. They're fabulous. Whenever I am around other town clerks, we are all the biggest cheerleaders for this company because they're wonderful. Towns that don't have this company wish they had this company. So we're very fortunate here in Cheshire.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. King? Mr. Veliber.
Thank you very much. I too, I've been supportive of IQS over the years. I think they've done a great job for your office, and I think they were, when they were switched in under Laura's office and now continuing with you, I think they've done a great job with this. I mean, I have an opportunity to use IQS and other services through my job, and I think IQS is by far the best of the online record town clerk type company, so I'm glad we're using it. It's probably the easiest to use and probably the best one for their information that they have. So I think it's good. I mean, obviously, just a couple questions. Have they gotten, I know we approved money last year. Have they gotten to the point where they've scanned in everything back to original, or is that still work in progress?
It's a work in progress, but our historic grant from the state this year should bring us back to volume 1.
Okay, they haven't, I knew we had gotten the money for that, I just wasn't sure if they've gotten to that. So that's good. My only concern is, I see the new book and I was, the dinosaur in me, because I'm used to seeing the old books, I get a little nervous because I still like having a book when I look at it, and obviously the original books are full-size paper, and these are obviously going to have to be some kind of shrunken down version.
No, they're going to be this size paper. This one is a vital book, but it's what I had for show and share.
Oh, okay,
But
so it's going to be, it's going to be a full size.
Like this, only thicker.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you, okay, I misunderstood. I thought you were gonna shrink it down and so maybe you'd have like 2 pages per page and it's,
no.
so like the font's gonna be like this big on each page. So, okay, no, that's great. I appreciate that. So with that, I just wanted to just voice my support for this because I think IQS is a good company and they've done a great job for your office, so thank you. And thank you for working with them to make our office so good, so.
Oh, certainly.
Seeing no other questions, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Ms. King, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brings us to item E, the approval of single early voting site and plan. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 051424-6. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby agrees with the Cheshire Registrars of Voters that a single early voting site located at the Town of Cheshire Town Hall Lobby, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, is sufficient for potential primary in August 2024 and accepts the early voting plan as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Thank you, Mr. Jinks, for the second. Sean, do you have anything? I mean, I know this is a requirement of the state. Ms. Talbot is
I think Arnett was going to just give a very
making her
quick
way
summary.
to the podium, so.
Yeah. First of all, the state does require that the legislative body actually bless this plan. We don't really have much choice. The state dictates this plan, but they still need your approbation. And it's fairly basic, and it meets all of the requirements of the program. In terms of the single location for early voting for the potential primary in August, they did successfully complete early voting for the primary in April. I believe we had approximately 167 voters. They didn't have any trouble staffing it. There's a little concern when we get to the November election. There's 14 days of early voting. But for August, they feel that this one location is absolutely acceptable, and we just need your blessing. Unless you disagree, and then we'll get more information from the registrars.
But the plan, if I hear you correctly, then the plan is to have more than just the town hall lobby for
It is-
November.
It is not, there is no plan in place yet.
Okay.
This is just for the.
This is strictly for-
For August. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, and we'll see what
Excellent.
happens at the primary.
Questions from colleagues? Mr. Jinks?
Thanks. I assume that the town hall voting location, it's only available during town hall open business hours, right?
The hours for early voting are set by the state, and they're 10 to 6, I think, and we keep the lobby open.
Oh, you do?
For
Okay.
those days. It's not every day. We had 4 days. I think one of them was a Saturday. So the town hall lobby will be open to the public during the hours for early voting that the state has established early voting.
Okay, thanks.
And there are people there in the lobby. They have to have a moderator and a poll worker.
Yeah, just a quick question, obviously, two things. Obviously, August, the primary in August, obviously are gonna be a much smaller activity than you're gonna see for the November election. Obviously, I don't think the lobby is gonna necessarily be able to handle all those people.
I suspect that the registrars will be back with another request fairly soon.
Okay, yeah, that would be my guess, because I don't think we're gonna be able to hold them in the town hall lobby, not without people going out the door, into the parking lot. The other question I have is, do you know, how much money we spent on the primary? Because obviously, we only got $10,000, so I'm just questioning how quickly are we?
I do not know the exact amount. I can get that for you. I can guess, but I'd rather I will get you the exact amount. I'll email that out
Right,
tomorrow.
because obviously, the concern is this is, in the end, this is now going to be another unfunded mandate where we're going to end up having to pay for this. The town is going to have to pay for this.
The registrars have assured us that the total cost for the primaries and the presidential election will likely, well exceed the $10,000 that the
Right.
state grant has provided to us.
Right, so, okay, thank you, because I think that, it's unfortunate that, we have to, that we're gonna end up having to cover this cost, but maybe the state will come around and actually do what it should do, which is if they're gonna force this on us, they should pay for it. Thank you.
Ms. Pearson?
I just want to publicly say that I appreciate that we do have this opportunity in our community to extend options for early voting. I know it's done in many other states. I know it's very difficult for folks who work a traditional Monday through Friday, long day on the traditional voting days, can't make it to the polls, and so this increases opportunities and increases participation, so.
I do have to, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I do have to say that of the people who voted, there were a lot of very appreciative comments, which I don't know if the registrar of voters are used to getting. So it was nice for them.
Seeing no other questions, I'll call for a vote. All those in,
Tricia had her hand raised.
I'm sorry.
I was late
Ms.
to the
Kramer,
party.
yes.
I also want to say that if more funding is needed, I think that we should take it upon ourselves to reach out to our state and local representatives and ask them to put something forward in the legislature to cover the expenses for next session. Thank you.
Pass that along to the registrars.
Thank you. And with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Brings us to item F, the approval of lease renewal with Cheshire Historical Society for the Hitchcock Phillips House. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 051427-7. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the renewal of a lease agreement with the Cheshire Historical Society Incorporated for 43 Church Street, Cheshire, Connecticut 06410, for a term of 3 years pursuant to the terms and conditions as presented. And be it further resolved that the Town Council authorizes Town Manager Sean M. Kimball to execute this amendment for said lease agreement upon the approval by the town attorney as to form and function.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Discussion. Mr. Kimball?
Sure.
You want to?
Yeah, just really simply, it's a 3-year lease agreement for a total of $10. This has been a longstanding relationship with the Historic Society to operate out of the historic building across the street on the Church Green. This is for a 3-year term. I believe the last lease was also a 3-year term. I don't have it right in front of me. But basically an extension of the same. The town there's provisions for the town to have access as needed for the evaluations that we're doing of the building and any future capital projects that may come out of that. And other than that, happy to answer any questions unless I left anything out.
Questions from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item G, the acceptance and appropriation of $84,086.52 from the National Opioid Settlement to the Human Services Special Revenue Account. Ms. Kramer.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 051424-8. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby accepts and appropriates $84,086.52 from the National Opioid Settlement to the Human Services Special Revenue Account for the continuation of the opioid remediation plan as approved by the Town Council.
We have a motion. Thank you, Mr. Veliber, for the second. Mr. Kimball?
Sure. So first of all, thank you for the amended motion of $84,000. And there's a memo, if you see in your attachment behind the amended motion, you'll see a memo from Michelle Piccirillo, and we emailed out yesterday. It gives a great comprehensive summary of the opioid settlement fund program. I think our Human Services Department is to be commended. They really are at the forefront of using these funds, and you'll hear a number of other communities that are still struggling with how they're going to use these funds most appropriately. I think I would submit our program has been incredibly successful, also in no small part due to the fact that we have Kevin Lerner, who's been fantastic as a mental health and substance abuse counselor. The funds pay for part of his salary. And so you'll see I added this morning a attachment at the very end of that packet, which is a summary of all of the funds received to date. So the previous disbursements totaled $110,539. The disbursement today you're accepting of $84,000 brings the total received to $194,626. I broke out just some of the general payroll categories, or the expense categories there. The payroll that I just referenced at just under $16,000. Additional program expenses of $16,000, and there's presently an encumbrance of $3,350, bringing the total expended or will be expended at $35,656. So a remaining balance from the settlement funds received to date of just under about $60,000 remaining. So happy to answer any questions. I know, unfortunately, Michelle had a conflict tonight and couldn't be here, but I know she's immensely proud of her and her team for all the work they're doing on this, and happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Walsh.
Sean, is this the last of the amount that we're going to get, or how much more? You know?
Let Jeff answer that. I asked him the same question. I think
Okay.
there's still some pending litigation out there, but I'll turn it
The national opioid litigation basically falls into 3 categories. One is the distributors. The major distributors have settled. The second is the manufacturers. The largest of the manufacturers have settled. The third is the pharmacies. The pharmacies have settled. There's still a couple other smaller distributors and smaller manufacturers that are in the process of making their way through the settlement approval process. At the end of the day, the town's probably going to get about $400,000 from the settlement of all the various national litigation. So you're about halfway there.
Mr. Milone.
So if I understand this correctly, we're only using a portion of this, so we still have available balance, even though we might not get more, that we can still use in future years. Is that correct?
Correct. This is going into a special revenue fund, so it's drawn upon, it's not subject to the year-to-year budget appropriation. we were using it to supplement operations in the form of the substance abuse counselor, but it's not, it's not use it or lose it all within a year or anything like that.
And while I have the mic here, I just like to thank Michelle for her thoughtful use of the funds. I mean, it's just very, very well distributed, and everything in here, it just seems just appropriate, so thank her.
And just a plug, you'll see in there, and also in my town manager's report this Friday here in council chambers, youth mental health first aid training all day. Still spots available if anyone wants to sign up.
Excellent. And Mr. Malone, I agree, because when I looked and saw we still had almost 160,000, it gave me a little comfort, because I'd love to see us continue the substance abuse counselor. I know it's only a portion of that salary, but still, I think it's an important thing to have. So it looks like we'll be able to fund that for a few more years at least. So, but thank you. Any other questions from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item H, approval of purchase agreement for new electric generation supply. Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 051424-9. Be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes the Town Manager to execute a contract for electricity supply for a term of 24 months at a rate not to exceed 0.106 cents per kilowatt hour.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Jascott.
Yeah, so just to give you a little background on this, we're looking for a 2-year term, mainly due to concerns over the natural gas supply and limitations with that over the next couple of years. And the Board of Ed contract and our contract are both expiring this November. So this would be starting 2 years, beginning this December, going out the next couple of years. And we all felt that the 2-year term would get us through this natural gas situation, and hopefully, there'll be more opportunity after that. And if there is opportunity where the prices actually do decrease sometime in the next couple of years, or before this contract expires, there's always the opportunity to extend and blend the contract, which is something I think we've done in the past. So we collectively, between the Board of Ed and representatives from the town, we all felt that this was probably the prudent thing to do, a 2-year term. And so we were asking your permission to allow for Sean to contract. We were hoping to go out tomorrow to get pricing and have Sean sign a contract where it would not exceed 10.6 cents per kilowatt hour, which I think when we looked at this today, it was like around 10.3, so we needed just a little wiggle room in case there's some market fluctuation. But I know we were anxious to get this done sooner than later, because we feel as though there's more potential for the rates to increase as we approach the summer months, and we thought it would be better to get this done. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I did take a quick look at the budgets. We do use a lot of electricity here. WPCD, with all the rainfall, the town buildings, pool to some degree. But I think what was budgeted should be adequate, in line with these increases. So I'm not too concerned about any, budget shortfalls at this point if we can get in with this type of pricing. So I don't know if anybody has any
questions. Mr. Walsh.
This is negotiating with Eversource or other carriers, or?
Yeah, there's been at least a couple of bidders, Direct Energy and Constellation New Energy. I'm not sure if there's any more in the pool, but those were the ones that came in with the lowest bids when we did a price refresh today. we've been looking at this for the last month or two.
And who's our contract been with for the last couple of years? Is it?
It's actually one of those. It's under a different name now. Bear with me.
And what rate was that at?
So the town was at 7.45 cents
with
per kilowatt. So
NRG.
this is a pretty big increase. And again, that's why I kind of double checked to make sure we had accounted for a significant increase. So we must have taken into consideration kind of what the market looked like when we were doing the budgets this year. The Board of Ed was not on the same cycle as us. We had been at that 7.45 for quite some time. They had to, their contract ended sometime in the last year or two, and they were actually currently paying over 11 cents. So this is actually a better price for them if they lock in tomorrow as they're planning.
And how much do these late-night meetings that we have in town chambers cause the increase? Because maybe we need to look at that a little further.
Yeah, it was, NRG Corp is currently who we use, but I think they just changed their name to one of the suppliers that we're looking at now. So they're still interested.
Mr. Mylone.
Just curious, Jim, if you did a one-year contract, what would the rate be? Do you have any idea? Is it more or less? I assume it'd be less?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was less. And then going out past that, there was no advantage to locking in further. The prices didn't drop, so.
Did you consider that? I mean, just doing 1 year?
We certainly did consider it.
But you don't think that's the way to go?
I think they were more concerned about prices just going up here for the next couple of years. Again, based on the limitations of the natural gas until that situation improves. So we also look at natural gas pricing kind of at the same time, and right now we're using the utility month-by-month rate on that, and we see no compelling reason to bid that out at this time. Apparently, they're getting pretty good rates, probably based on the quantity they use collectively, and there didn't seem to be any potential on the gas at this point.
So they're suggesting if we did a 1 year, what exposure will we have in the second year? Do you have any idea? It's hard to predict.
I'd want to go back and kind of refresh on that. Again, we talked about different terms, 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, really. We got pricing on all of that. But I think the sweet spot was 2
in your
years.
opinion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just asking. It seems like there's a lot of options that, and reasons to do one or the other. If that's your judgment, then so be it. So.
Yeah. So we have a consultant on board too that, I kind of rely on them a little bit as to what their crystal ball looks like. But, Dan Bombero, Vinny, we all kind of sat at the table several times to discuss, terms and, when do we lock it in?
How long was the board locked in at a higher rate?
I don't, off my recollection, it wasn't that long. I want to double check that, but I want to say it's probably been a year to maybe 2 years the most. We were coming off, I think, a longer term than that, 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's my recollection, Mr. Jascott, is
Yeah.
that we were on a 4-year, I think, that we had locked into.
It's been
Or
been
at
a long
least
time,
3.
because I know for years we've been telling suppliers that we're locked in.
I think it was.
I haven't
May.
had to worry about
I pulled
this
the
in a
minutes
long
because we were
time.
doing. I think it was May of '21. I think so. Just about 3.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jascott. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Next three items are calls for public hearings, starting with the call for a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 24-25 annual capital expenditure budget. Mr. Jinks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves resolution number 051424-10. Be it resolved the Town Council shall hold a public hearing at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, to consider the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 five-year capital expenditure plan and annual capital expenditure budget. And be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearing to be posted and published according to law. And be it further resolved that the date, time, and place or any further postponements thereof shall be determined by the town manager with the approval of the chairman of the council.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Allard, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in, oh, did you want
I
to?
was just gonna say, we need
Sure.
to, obviously, we need to complete the capital budget
Yes,
planning. so
we need to
it's-
do that first.
It's a
but
necessary
yes.
step, so.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item J is the call for a public hearing for the 2024 Neighborhood Assistance Act Program submissions. Ms. Pearson.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 051-42411. Be it resolved that the Town Council will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, in Council Chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider submissions to the 2024 Neighborhood Assistance Act Program, and be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearings to be posted and published according to law, and be it further resolved that the date, time, and place, or any further postponements thereof shall be determined by the town manager with the approval of the chairman of the council.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Which brings us to our last item of new business, item K, which is the third of the three public hearing calls. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 051424-12. Be it resolved that the Town Council will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, in Council Chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider a new Veterans Committee ordinance, and be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearing to be posted and published according to law, and be it further resolved that the date, time, and place or any further postponements thereof shall be determined by the town manager with the approval of the chairman of the council. We have a motion, and Mr. Jinks, thank you for your second. Any discussion? Mr. Veliver.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the need for this, but I'm a little concerned considering the ordinance committee hasn't even really taken up this ordinance yet or had any real significant discussion of this. I'm assuming it's going to be, obviously, I just received the agenda for Thursday's ordinance review committee meeting, and obviously it's going to be a significant portion of that meeting, but I just think it's maybe perhaps a little, it's I think it's irregular to be going down to a public hearing when there isn't even an ordinance in final form that has been referred to the council, let alone even in really draft form. So
We're being very optimistic, Mr. Veliver.
I agree, and we will work hard to get you a product.
And if we don't have it, we will absolutely postpone the public hearing, but yes. Mr. Milone.
Could I ask, what are the objectives of this ordinance? What are we trying to accomplish here?
So the ordinance is to establish a Veterans Committee, which will be a group of individuals made up of citizens that will first take on the new Veterans Memorial that's going to be part of Bartlam Park South. It is my hope that the commission will continue to deal with other veterans topics going forward.
And so, in the past, veterans initiatives have been handled ad hoc. I mean, there's never been a formal veterans group?
there really hasn't, there has been a group of individuals that have worked on things like the parade and the monuments here at Town Hall. But this will formalize the process and put together a group that will, like I mentioned, immediately work on Bartlam Park South. But it's my hope that this group will continue to take on other veterans projects.
It seems extremely important, and to rush it seems just, when we've sat like this for a long time, seems a little risky. Why are we setting a public hearing before we have a draft of an ordinance? Just curious. Why couldn't we wait a month, and is there a reason we're trying to get a public hearing together before we've even seen what this ordinance is gonna say?
The thought was that with the ordinance committee voting or meeting later this month, that we would have this in place, and this is going to be probably our only opportunity to set a public hearing for our June meeting. So again, as I mentioned to Mr. Veliber, maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but that is the plan.
And the people that I've been providing pro bono services for and it's not considered a memorial right now, it's just considered a park. Maybe it will be a memorial park, but it's considered a veterans park. And so my firm has been providing some pro bono services there, and there's been a group of people that have been involved. Will those people continue to be involved? Because I think they put a lot of effort in, and it would be, I think, a little bit inappropriate for them to not be part of this new group that's going to take over this responsibility.
That is absolutely the intent. And to supplement as well.
I'm supportive of this committee. It seems, as David said, it just seems a little unusual that we're moving it along in this way. And quite frankly, I don't know how it's going to be composed and who's going to be on it, but as someone who's done pro bono work, I feel a little uncomfortable that all of a sudden the players may change and the work we've done for free for the community may be, not considered appropriate going forward. So just the whole thing is, I find a little distasteful, quite frankly.
Let me clarify, and it may ease your concern, that this is strictly setting up the ordinance for the committee, for the formation of this committee. This is not naming the committee. That would be handled separately, again, by this body.
And
So this is strictly the ordinance to establish the committee that would tackle these projects going forward.
And this committee will be an ongoing committee, will it have a liaison from the council or something like that, Peter?
That is the hope, yes.
Environment Commission or something like that? I love the idea. I think it's great. I think it's appropriate. There's so many kind of question marks here. It just, I would prefer to see, I don't even see an outline of the ordinance, so, but my colleague has a question, so that's fine.
Ms. Pearson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I appreciate that we are moving forward with this, and I would rather than delay, I'd rather set this meeting up, and we can postpone it if the ordinance committee comes into determination that there is not an ordinance that they can agree upon, then it won't be heard. So I would rather move things along rather than, especially with Bartlam moving so quickly, so that we can make sure that we do have a committee, and we're going to have an opportunity, my understanding is, to discuss this ordinance. So we will have that opportunity on June 11th. So I don't see delaying this. I've seen too many things delayed over the years. I mean, it took us 3 years to get a poet laureate, so I would not like to continue to delay things and rather move things along. So we do have folks involved actively and reflected in these committees and organizations, so.
No, I agree that it's not great to delay, but it would have been nice if the ordinance committee took this up 2 months ago rather than a week before our public hearing. I mean, it's not so much a delay as I think it just wasn't done, and now we're rushing it at the last minute because we feel
Well, and
we feel pressure, and so I don't, a delay I don't think is appropriate. I think doing things in a proper sequence is appropriate. And to suggest that we're gonna delay something because it hasn't been done in the proper sequence, I think is just not an appropriate statement.
Ms. Pearson.
Yeah, well, my understanding, this will be in a proper sequence, and so the ordinance committee is going to meet, and they will discuss, and then, you can look at me like that, but they will meet, and they will,
We don't even know what, have any idea.
but we will have seen it by then, right? We will have it in our packets, and we'll be ready to deliberate
We'll
it.
have a chance to deliberate, it's gonna go right to the public.
We will be deliberating that night. We'll be deliberating it on
After
June
goes to a
11.
public hearing. We won't see it before the public has seen it. We won't have deliberated before the public has seen it. We will see it, and it'll go to the public, and then we'll have a chance to deliberate, which is, I'm gonna support this because I want it to go forward, but I just feel uncomfortable that we're rushing. I prefer that we put it off for a month, but if that's not, just so we can get it and have seen it, and have the council have a chance to review it and comment on it before the public actually sees it. I mean, we're gonna send something to the public that the full council hasn't even had a chance to comment on first. But I don't wanna delay things either. I really don't. I didn't know why we were trying to push it so quickly, but, because it seems like we're moving fast. But if we're all interested in pushing it along quickly, then so be it. Well, hopefully it'll work out, and there's a good chance maybe it will work out, so.
Chair?
Mr. Jinks.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we did, the ordinance committee did discuss the formation of this committee at a previous meeting. One of my concerns was the same thing you voiced earlier, that people that are already involved in the work of veterans memorials and activities and things. One of my concerns was, are we going to continue to involve those people? And that's the intention of our ordinance committee, and the intention of forming this is to have those people involved. And I believe at our meeting on Thursday, a lot of the people that have been involved are going to be there to discuss the forming of this committee at the ordinance committee meeting. So I don't think we're moving too quickly. I think we're kind of moving at the right pace, but I just wanted to let you know we have started discussing this before this week. Yeah.
Ms. Ellard.
This is just, Ms. Kramer, this is just a
Ms. Kramer,
a point of preference for myself. When we debate in this type of setting, it's really important to allow people to finish their sentences while we're talking. Interrupting and cutting off it's hard for us to complete our debate. So just moving forward, if we allow people to finish. I'm sorry, Fiona, I don't mean to defend you, the interrupting is I feel it's not appropriate, and I think we really need to allow people to finish their sentences.
Are you looking at me right now?
I am.
Because someone else's hand was raised in my face while I was making the statement, so please, please don't do this. Please don't go down this road.
I'm speaking specifically to interrupting other people while they're speaking.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Moves us to the town manager's report. Mr. Kimball.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apologize if it's a little lengthier here this month, but there's a lot of great stuff going on. I'll start with the Memorial Day Parade. Leslie Marinero, Stephanie Dunn have been working to finalize a press release this week and final marching orders for participants in the Memorial Day Parade. They should be available on the town's website this week or on or about Friday, May 17th. But please note and mark your calendars, the Saturday wreath laying ceremony will be on May 25th at 11 a.m. on the Cheshire Congregational Church Green. The Flags Across Cheshire event, where flags are placed on veterans' grave markers, will be again at 1 p.m., also on Saturday, May 25th, so please mark both of those important events. The 2024 Cheshire Memorial Day Parade will be the subsequent day on Sunday, May 26th, beginning at 1:30 p.m. This year it's honoring the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and there is no rain date, so in case of inclement weather, the parade could be canceled, but information will be available on the Park and Rec website at cheshirect.myrec.com and on Facebook no later than 10 a.m. on the morning of the parade. Shuttle bus service is offered from Cheshire High School at the beginning of the parade route, and the buses will run from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Restrooms are available at both Highland Elementary School and the Youth Center. We ask all parade participants to keep the theme in mind when decorating the floats and developing posters and banners and any related materials for the parade. It's important for the town of Cheshire, Cheshire Veterans Council, and all of the residents and businesses of the Cheshire to continue to recognize and honor those who serve and have served our country. And new for this year, the parade committee has decided not to halt the parade at the Veterans Memorial Plaza, in part because it's disruptive for the entire length of the parade, and also it's a duplicate presentation of the event that occurs on Saturday. So again, just another encouragement for folks to attend the Saturday events. They're really special events and very well done. And also there will be no reviewing stand at the end of the parade at Cheshire High School in order to keep the parade moving. Moving on, we'll have another, just like last month, we're having an electronics and mattress recycling event, a free event at Cheshire Public Works on Waterbury Road, Saturday, May 18th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, that's 1304 Waterbury Road, the old transfer station. The event is open to Cheshire residents only. Proof of residency is required. So again, that's this Saturday. Flipping the page, you will see I gave the update already on Bartlett South, so I won't repeat myself. But further down, an important note and notice of a hearing. The Connecticut Sighting Council is having a hearing on June 13th. They've scheduled a hearing on a proposal by Tarpon Towers and Selco, Verizon Wireless, to construct a 90-foot cell tower in the parking lot area behind Big Y, adjacent to King Road. This site would address persistent cell coverage complaints in the south part of town, including throughout the Elam Park facility, but also be able to host additional cell carriers as co-locators. Residents are encouraged to participate in the hearing process. The hearing is scheduled for Thursday, June 13th via Zoom, begins at 2 p.m. with an evidentiary session and continues with public comment beginning at 6:30 p.m. To participate in the hearing, residents should email sighting.council@ct.gov or call 860-827-2935 to leave a voicemail with your contact information by June 12th. Flipping the page, a couple of great news for some of our Cheshire employees. Dave Milano, very pleased to announce that our water pollution superintendent just this past Friday successfully passed his Class 4 wastewater operator exam. The Class 4 certification is the highest level of certification available and is critical for wastewater treatment plant's general permit. It's also very rare for someone to pass this 4-hour exam on their first attempt, and we're incredibly proud of Dave for all of his hard work and dedication as he studied and prepared over the past year, which you'll recall also included having a newborn, his first child born back in January. So congratulations to Dave. He's been a very busy almost 6 months for him. And also, as Peter recognized earlier, congratulations to our town clerk, Patty King, on earning the designation of a certified municipal clerk, which is awarded by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. The IIMC grants this designation only to municipal clerks who complete demanding education requirements and have a record of significant contributions to their local government, community, and state. The IIMC, founded in 1947, has 14,000 members throughout the United States, Canada, and 15 other countries. And the mission of this global nonprofit corporation is to enhance the educational opportunities and professional development of its diverse membership. Congratulations to Patty. A few more pictures in the next portion of this report. Arts Place update. The construction of a new home for Arts Place at Ball and Socket Arts is nearing completion. The final inspection is scheduled for next week. Once punch list items are complete, we anticipate the move-in to begin the following week, so really by early June. And we're hoping first classes will tentatively be scheduled for early July, maybe just after the 4th of July holiday. Some recent pictures of a walkthrough that I did just last week there below, and a nice image of the future sign that will be out on West Main Street. And then wrapping up, the next page, a few human services and Yellow House programs. I mentioned before the youth mental health first aid training is this Friday from 8 to 4 here in council chambers. Another showing of Screenagers Under the Influence is available for adults and students grade 6 and up. Free event is at the Cheshire Public Library, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 22nd. And finally, Yellow House is offering a cultural exploration project Saturday mornings from June 8th to the 29th, 10 a.m. to 11:30. An update, next month is Pride Month, and Cheshire's Pride flag raising ceremony will be held at the Cheshire Congregational Church Green again this year. Will be on Sunday, June 2nd at 12 o'clock noon. The Cheshire Human Services Department is also pulling together a calendar of additional Pride Month events to be posted on the website and distributed very soon. Another reminder to check our Projects Around Town page, which was just updated yesterday, with a lot of great pictures and updates on a variety of projects across town. So please spread the word on our projects page. And almost finally, Parks and Recreation Commission will be recognizing the main room at the John G. Martin Foundation building at Mixville Park as the Frank M. Lohman Room at 6 p.m. Prior to their regular meeting, they have this meeting out at Mixville, so you could stay for the Park and Rec Commission meeting if you'd like. But please mark your calendars for the recognition of the Frank Lohman Room on Wednesday, June 5th. And last but certainly not least, on Friday, June 21st, the town's annual Business Appreciation Day will be held at Elam Park. Invitations will be going out next week to over 500 Cheshire businesses for this free event to honor our local business community. Doors open at 8:30 a.m. for registration, with the program beginning at 9 a.m. featuring Anthony, Chief Marketing Officer for the state of Connecticut. All town councilors are invited to attend and will also be receiving formal invites in the mail. We hope you can join, and a special thanks to Elam Park for their support. And last, I would just, again, a reminder, we always have the additional reports, including Economic Development Report, and Finance and others for your perusal. But the first on the Economic Development Report, I know one that Council already is aware of, but just want to announce we are thrilled that Cheshire is the recipient of the additional acreage from House Bill 5521 for the land conveyance near the Park and Ride there across from the Stonebridge development. So this acquisition allows for the next steps to begin and the RFP process, which will be scheduling a meeting to discuss next steps there very, very soon. So great news for the town of Cheshire. And that concludes my report. You will see the additional town council and committee meetings, including the 3 tentative capital budget workshops that we were just finalizing this afternoon. So please mark your calendars for the dates we had that the most folks were available. It's been very difficult to try to get as many available for every meeting. I know I appreciate everyone's flexibility. But we have May 29th, June 5th, and June 13th as tentative capital budget workshop dates. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. Questions? Mr. Wolf?
Sean, I have a quick question. Any of the meetings that are held via Zoom, are they recorded for people to watch later?
Which, are you talking about Siting Council?
Yeah, the Siting Council.
It's a good question. I think they are.
They're recorded, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the town manager's report? Seeing none, thank you, Sean. Also in your packets, colleagues, are the department status reports, police, fire, and as alluded to, economic development. Thank you, Andrew, for that. Brings us to reports of committees of the council, chairman's report. I'll start to my left, Ms. Kramer.
Environment Commission, 2 things to report. The bridge on the Fen Road property, that's been mentioned a few times. They are going into a process of looking for grant money for that bridge. Just moving forward, I'll keep you posted if anything comes up. And the Yankee Highlands bike trail, mountain biking path, they are in the MOU process with the entity that was here speaking with us.
With NEMBA.
NEMBA. And whenever that comes in, I'll make sure to get you guys a copy. That's it.
You actually jumped the gun a little bit because that is a liaison report. Do you have anything for the committee chairs? Sorry.
No.
It's okay to do yours early. Mr. Wolf.
Nothing to report.
Ms. Allard?
Well, I'd just like to say that on Thursday, May 16th, the Ordinance Review Committee meeting will be held, and clearly we have some work to do. So let's rest up because we have some work to do. So
Good.
We hope to deliver.
Mr. Jenks?
Sure. For Budget Committee, I just want to say that in my comments after our adoption of the budget there, I've neglected to thank my fellow Budget Committee members for their work on the Budget Committee. So consider this a special occasion, and thank you guys for your help. And also, as you saw, we have some preliminary dates for capital budget which Sean said we just kind of finalized these today. Thank you, everyone, for submitting your dates through the calendar survey, and we'll get to work on that soon.
Ms. Pearson?
No report. We will be meeting May 23rd.
I have 3 referrals. The referral of reclassification of Union Administrative Assistant 2 position in the Building Department to the Personnel Committee. Also to Personnel, referral of new and amended job descriptions for budgeted positions. And third, the referral of administrative fee for filing delinquent business personal property taxes with the state to the Ordinance Review Committee. No items for miscellaneous. Moving on to number 11, appointments, starting to my left with liaison reports. Ms. Kramer has already done hers, so I will move to Mr. Wolf.
One thing to mention out of the Performing and Fine Arts Committee, I just want to make note that at Ball and Socket from May 10th through the 25th, it's an Arts Place portfolio show with instructors from Arts Place showing some of their work at Ball and Socket, kind of to get people pumped and ready for the upcoming opening of Arts Place at Ball and Socket. Like I said, it's May 10th through 25th. I encourage everyone to go visit, including my colleagues. There's a lot of lovely stuff. Thank you. That's it.
Ms. Allard?
Okay, thank you. The Public Safety Commission held a successful bell giveaway at Ball and Socket. I apologize, I don't have the date for that in front of me, but it was very successful. With respect to the Youth and Human Services, in addition to the manager's report, there were some other notable events that I just wanted to bring up. At the high school, if you have a student at the high school, there will be a program called In a Heartbeat, where they will be providing free cardiac screening test to high school students. This event will be staffed with volunteer technicians to answer questions. Parents will receive an ECG result from In a Heartbeat within 2 weeks. Registration is required, and if you're interested in having your student screened, you can go to screening.inaheartbeat.org. At the Senior Center, I thought it was great to see that there is a community conversation on May 30th regarding mental health and the important resources and skills that are needed to prevent suicide. You can contact the Senior Center to RSVP for that. On June 14th at the Senior Center, there's a workshop for seniors to learn practical self-defense skills, which is very important. And that's all I have.
Mr. Jenks?
Thank you. So I'm not technically the liaison for Chesapeake just yet, but because we don't have the MOU completed. But there was a board meeting May 2nd. I couldn't attend in person. I was out of town, but there were several important decisions made. The acting director was appointed, who's someone who's already there at Chesapeake. They have hired a search firm to search for a new director. They what else did they do? They appointed a new attorney, and there was a couple other items, but those are the highlights. I don't know, I think, Don, I think you may have been there as well. I don't know if you have anything else to add, but.
No, I think there's a lot going on there, so.
Right.
It was a busy meeting, and I think that's probably the gist of it right there.
Right, okay, thanks.
Ms. Pearson?
I know Energy Commission reported they've been visiting a number of schools in the area, so I know that they will be excited about Rich Gusenberg's news today regarding the possibility for net zero, at least use of the North End or Norton School as a result of the capacity for solar panels. Parks and Rec, they are in the process of auditing the different fields. I know we received many emails from folks in town regarding field usage for baseball. And so his team is auditing park usage because oftentimes fields are left empty, actually, even though they're tentatively or ostensibly reserved. They talked also about establishing a field use committee, so that may be something that's coming down the line. So John Galwak talked with the commission about that. As a way of beginning to address some of these field usage issues, and also to address the use of the turf field. I know there's still discussion, and I know folks on this board here were asking about how we're going to determine usage of the turf field, and so Parks and Rec discussed potentially, I think there was general resistance to charging our internal groups for the use of the turf field. There are towns that do charge internal groups, and in the meantime, perhaps having a moratorium on external groups. There's been a great deal of interest and requests from external groups wanting to use our turf field in town, and so there was discussion about perhaps having a year moratorium while we determine what our own need is in town before we begin to potentially allow external groups to reserve.
Mr. Walsh?
The beautification committee, basically, we already talked about, so I think, like I said before, they're doing a great job, and Cheshire Housing Authority didn't really have anything new. They're still moving forward with they're still trying to get the lighting situated there, and hopefully they will get the lighting situated there, and signage, they've talked about signage too, so, but things are moving along.
Mr. Veliber? Mr. Mylone?
Yeah, I attended the first, or at least my first retirement board meeting earlier this month. I was very impressed with the committee, the consultant that represents the town, the complicated nature of how they manage these retirement funds, which are fairly substantial, was very impressive. The consultant was well-versed. Jim, I was impressed with, your involvement in the committee and your guidance you gave them. It was really just a great experience to see the care that's being taken with those funds. So it was appreciated. Thank you.
Which brings us to appointments to boards and commissions. I know Mr. Wolf has a couple. Mr. Veliber, do you have?
One correction.
Okay. So we'll start here and go there.
Okay, first one, I have an appointment of Susan Fenati of 826 Wallingford Road to the Performing and Fine Arts Commission. She's a new appointment and fills the vacancy of Monique D'Onofrio, the term of 5/14/24 to 1/31/27. She is a Democrat. Second is the appointment of Marlena Sobel of 25 Flagler Avenue to the Youth and Human Services. It's a new appointment, fills the vacancy of John Nan, term of 5/14/24 to 1/31/25. She's a Democrat. And that's it.
Mr. Veliber.
Thank you very much. I was alerted by Noel that through the town clerk that there was an issue. And so I told Noel that I would make a note to remind myself to, just in case one of us didn't remember. And at the last meeting, we appointed Joyce Karkle, and I think it's for, oh my God, I lost the, do you remember what that was? It was, I think it's beautification. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, we had appointed, the appointment that was approved was through the 2028, and it should have been through 1/31/2027. So it's a 3-year term. Performing in Fine Arts, thank you.
Okay.
So we're
And that's, yeah.
So it's gonna, it was approved through 1/31/2028, and it should have been through 1/31/2027.
And the same thing with Marlena Sobel's appointment was done a couple months ago, but there hadn't been a formal, there had been a verbal resignation from the position, so we're doing that one again to codify those. So, Mr. Veliber, if you would like to second.
Second.
And likewise, Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have 3 nominations and 2 seconds on the table. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? The appointments pass unanimously. Thank you.
We got through that one.
Town Attorney's Report, Mr. D'Onofrio. Council communications, letters to the council. Anyone receive any letters that they'd like to? Seeing none. Nothing for miscellaneous.
Peter, I have,
Yes, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Dina,
Ms. Kramer.
did I see another advertisement for a second screening of Screenagers from Youth and Human Services?
Yes, you did. It's going to be on May 22nd at 6:30 at the library.
The town manager's report?
No.
Yep.
There it is.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to formally request that maybe at the next meeting, we can have the chairman of the board of Chespercott to come and speak with us. Having seen, the audit came out for this past year, and there is some serious discrepancies in the audit that I think I would like to see addressed to us, so we could have an understanding of what's going on there. So if we can ask the chairman to come and talk with us and bring us up to speed on what's going on, I would appreciate that.
Okay. We will add that to June. It is my understanding, unless things have changed dramatically in the past hour or so, that there is nothing for executive session tonight. So, believe it or not, yeah,
The smiles throughout the room, it's amazing. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. See, Mr. Walsh, we're already trying to
Right,
wrap
say-
up meetings, so
we're
we
saving
don't
energy.
don't use extra electricity. So, with that, at 9:10 PM, I will
Motion to
call for a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Veliver. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
That one, this one.